Welcome. My name is Pskili. This is something a little bit different today. I guess if you've ever seen any of my other videos, you know that I typically do gaming content, very few videos so far, and very sporadic uploads. It's kind of whenever I find time, and I have found no time as I'm in a new place currently. I currently find myself in a new apartment. Just got kind of finished moving, sort of, kind of, not really. The move has taken a lot of time, and we were gone for about a week, so it's been a process for sure, but it's coming along, and we are getting close to a point where we're almost done. But I have to build a chair, and today is May 29th, and if you're a Destiny fan, you know that just a few short days ago, we got the most horrendous news that we could get, that Destiny 2 is dying. It's unfortunately reached the end of its life cycle due to decisions that my little peon, poor brain can't ever understand because CEOs will CEO. Destiny is dying, and it's receiving its final update. It will go into maintenance mode in about like 7-8 days or something. June 9th. June 9th will be the final update in which we will have something new to play and new content and new challenges, new changes to the game's ecosystem, and it will enter maintenance mode. If you are unfamiliar with games and how maintenance mode sort of works, especially for MMOs, maintenance mode is clearly defined by essentially pulling the plug on Grandpa, because there's nothing left for them to do for Grandpa. And so you just kind of have what's left of Grandpa. And so essentially we are going to go into a maintenance mode, meaning that we will receive no more content. There will be no more changes to the game. The game's ecosystem will basically maintain itself, and it will be this sort of system that will stay stagnant, and there won't ever be any future content. Now, to a lot of people who especially don't play Destiny, this seems like a natural thing. This seems like something that should have happened a long time ago. I know a lot of people, a lot of chatter online, a lot of people basically have been along the opinion of like, this has been a long time coming, like they should have shut down a long time ago. To a Destiny fan, this is heartbreaking. And I don't want to get too deep into my own emotions about this, but I probably will. Destiny is a very special game. Destiny is essentially the reason that I got as into gaming as I did. I started by playing Halo. Halo Reach was the first game that I ever played on my own console. I got an Xbox 360 whenever I was a kid. It was Christmas. My dad thought Halo Reach looked really cool, so did I. So I just sat there and I played through Halo Reach. And Halo Reach as a whole was probably one of the most transformative games for my mind. It taught me that games can have these sort of like insane stories, and that they weren't the things that I was used to playing, which I grew up playing a lot of like arcadey classics, things like Banjo-Kazooie, that have a story but aren't necessarily like groundbreaking, changing stories. Halo Reach was the first time that I realized that a game could tell a story that would emotionally stick with me for a long time, and it still sticks with me. I still think about Halo Reach to this day. Flash forward a little bit, Halo Reach being the last game that Bungie did create. Then came Destiny, a new IP from the creators of Halo, Bungie. This was supposed to be a new chapter in Bungie's story. They were attempting to make a sort of MMO light that would run really well on consoles and would be a just all-around fun experience. So, Destiny came out. Destiny had an interesting history. From my personal memory, being a kid, I remember turning on the TV and hearing little bits of chatter about a new game that was coming out. I remember watching IGN article reviews and all these different things talking about how Destiny was this next brand new IP, and it always interested me from the first time that I saw a little bit of concept art. I remember the first time I saw concept art was on I believe it was a YouTube video. It was probably IGN, and it was some interview that they were doing with Bungie, and they showed this picture of what we would come to know as the tower. And this was such a beautiful looking piece of art. And then they described how this would be like this ever evolving world. You would be able to go and socially meet people in the tower. You would be able to go on adventures with them and have this ever evolving world. And for somebody who grew up playing predominantly only single player games with the exclusion of things like Call of Duty, that sounded amazing to me. I never got into MMOs that hard until a little bit after Destiny. So the idea of a social game with a social world sounded so unbelievably fascinating to me that I waited and I waited and I waited for Destiny to come out. I played the alpha, I played the beta, I played day one, got the collector's edition. Like, this was something special. And you know what, before I go any deeper into this, I think it's about time we start building this chair. So, a part of the move, one thing that has just came in that I need to build is my wife's chair. We have like a little accent chair that we're gonna throw here in the living room. And so yeah, I need to build this, but I have been just consistently thinking a lot about Destiny and the end of its life cycle, as this is something that is deeply impactful to me. And I didn't realize it would be so impactful. So this is essentially gonna be the collection of my mind's thoughts, spewed out into the void. And hopefully this resonates with you, I guess. If you're a fellow, Destiny fan that is now realizing what this bitter divorce looks like, then, I mean, hopefully you seek some solace, or even just realize that this really is truly the end of an era and that it's kind of a beautiful thing in that regard. That was horrible. This chair online looked really cool. I hope that it turns out as cool as it looks. You never know with these sorts of things. I normally am not a huge fan of buying furniture online. I usually like to see it in person first, but things like IKEA have gotten so expensive, and there's unfortunately cheaper alternatives out there that I find myself going for. So Destiny. To those who have been playing, this probably hit like a truck, because I know for me it did. I was in Atlanta. I was attending a convention known as MomoCon, and we were driving in Atlanta, downtown, and my sister, who was in the car with me at the time, just kind of looks at me and she goes, "Dylan, you need to read this." And of course I'm driving, so I'm like, "Bitch, I'm not gonna read this." But I'm like, read it to me. Felt like I was like in Hamilton, whenever Elizabeth Schuyler is like, "You need to hear this," and Hamilton's like, "Read it to me," and it's like, "Hey, your buddy's dead." That's what it felt like. So my sister is reading me this, and she starts off by saying that every end is a new beginning, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." Like, of course, my copium mindset thought, "Oh, maybe this is like a D3 announcement or something." And then she keeps reading. And whenever I tell you, it felt like she was telling me that one of my best friends had just died. Because the way that article in particular was written was utterly devastating. I don't have the article on me right now, but essentially, to any who have not read it, they basically detailed that this was it. This was the end of Destiny 2. They had DLC plans that were supposed to come out this year. They had updates. Most notably, the Shadow and Order update was supposed to come out sometime this June, I believe, but because it got delayed due to Marathon. And then along with that, there was supposed to be a DLC known as Shattered Cycle, which is going to explore a destination that I have been so excited to see. And a zone known as Old Chicago was supposed to be explored. We've been hearing about Old Chicago since D1. This has been something that has been very hyped up for a very long time. So me, somebody who mainly plays Destiny not only for the multiplayer aspects, but also for the fact that it just has really cool lore and really cool story and world building, I was very excited. I was very, very excited. And then, of course, we read the article, and essentially, Destiny 2 was getting shut down, as this was a decision that we all know was made by the CEOs of Bungie and Sony. The CEO of Bungie, if you don't know, has had a very complicated history of being a piece of shit. This is how things are ran, typically. This is how companies are ran. It's no secret. Companies are ran usually by people who do not understand the product that they're selling, and they make decisions that do not ultimately affect these games and these studios as they should. We've seen this throughout time, and we've seen this mainly through the MMO sphere. Many games in the past have been canceled or axed simply due to a CEO's misunderstanding or quote unquote not enough money. Most notably recently was the Lord of the Rings MMO that got canceled by Amazon. Amazon of all companies, which delivered this fucking box that has literally every dollar in the world. But you know, I digress. And so it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing for CEOs to be shitty, but this CEO in particular, Pete Parsons is his name, a man with a overwhelming car collection that seems to be getting all of the money that Destiny should. Pretty clear that the call was made that it was time for Destiny to end, to shift focus onto Marathon. Which, Marathon, for all who are unaware, is a great game. I think that Marathon is by no means a bad game. I've seen it get this rep that Marathon is like a terrible game and that it should not be the reason why Destiny gets canceled. I disagree. I think that Marathon is a good game. It's a passion project created by some of the most talented Bungie devs that has so much love put into it, into its world design, into its music, into its art, that it's worthy of being a successor. But the thing is that it's an extraction shooter, and this immediately makes a lot of people unwilling to play it for good reason. I think that extraction shooters, as fun as they are, can be a little bit infuriating. And so because of that, now we have this game that does not have the overwhelming amount of fans playing it, because I know me personally, I love Marathon. I think it's a very cool game, but also I'm not amazing at video games. I find myself being a 23-year-old having, you know, work and life responsibilities to where I'm not able to play as many games as I used to. In fact, just beating a game sometimes takes a very long time. And that being said, a game like Marathon, which is entirely skill-based, becomes a little bit infuriating to me whenever I get on and I lose and I lose and I lose. And that's just because I suck. Like, honestly, like, I'm not even trying to poke fun at Marathon and its gameplay. I just suck at it, and that's fine. Like, I still enjoy it. I think it's a really cool game. But yeah, so not having the casual option of something like Destiny 2 is really infuriating to a lot of Bungie fans, me included. Seeing as I don't have a lot of times to play video games, I honestly relished the nights where I could just sit there on Destiny and play some strikes and just have a good time. I could load up a raid with some friends and enjoy the puzzles, enjoy the mechanics, and not have to use my brain too much and just get to seriously unwind. Because video games, at the end of the day, they are a hobby. They're a passion project, but they're also a hobby. And hobbies are made for you to keep sane in this insane world that we live in, right? So I can almost understand people's frustrations whenever a game like Destiny, that is the casual Bungie game, the alternative to something like Marathon, does get axed for the more competitive, more hardcore game. I'm realizing that I'm terrible at multitasking, and so I'm going to read this. Give me one sec. Destiny is dead. And what this means is that the game will not stop being able to be played. It'll still be a fully operational game that you can boot up anytime that you want and you can play it, but it is effectively ending its service. This is in my opinion, extremely tragic and horrible decision for the company. And it pains me, as I know that there are so many talented developers. Paul Tassi has an article about this. There are so many talented developers who are completely in the blind about this, that had this game that they have devoted years of their life. I mean, Bungie has been operating Destiny for 12 years. 12 years have people been putting just an overwhelming amount of love and passion into this game, just for it to one day get axed at the decision of a CEO and people who ultimately shouldn't be running a company as they are. And it's just so tragic to me. It's such a shame because some of my best gaming memories, honestly, my best gaming memories are from Destiny. And I mean, a lot of it's nostalgia, a lot of it's rose tinted. If I went back and if I played Destiny 1, I would still have fun, but I don't think I would experience the level of fun that I had back then. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't an amazing game. It was truly what got me so connected into what gaming was and what gaming should be. And it should be about having fun and being able to enjoy time with your friends and make new friends. That's one point that I wanted to bring up. I have made some of my lifelong friendships in Destiny. Most notably, I have 3 friends that are in different parts of the world, in different parts of America. And I met them in all places at the Reef. And the Reef, if you don't know, is a social space akin to the Tower. It's where Trials of Osiris was hosted. It's where like House of Wolves, Varix, the vendor, was for. And I met them there. And that is the most bewildering thing to me, that like, I see them now every year. I see them once a year at this point. And I would have never met them had I not been on the game at that exact point in time. We played for years before finally getting to meet each other, and now we've known each other since House of Wolves. So what is that, roughly 10 years-ish, maybe 11? And that's just bewildering to me. Like, and of course, it sucks because as I say all this, I also do realize that, of course, games aren't meant to run forever. Games are not meant to be this forever sort of solution to entertainment. They are supposed to run their natural life cycle, end, and then you're supposed to be okay with that. But that's whenever a game has nothing left to give. And the problem is that Destiny did not have nothing to give. Destiny still had plenty to give. Destiny still, to this day, has a amount of concurrent players that makes it ridiculous to shut down the game. In fact, the concurrent players, from numbers that I saw not too long ago, Destiny, even just recently, has had more concurrent players than Marathon. And I'm not somebody who likes to compare games by Steam charts. I think it's kind of ridiculous that people do. Games are meant to be enjoyed however you want to enjoy them and shouldn't be compared. But it does say something whenever the game that is being axed for a different game has more players than the game that's supposed to become the next big thing for the company. And I have no ill will towards Marathon. I really do like playing it. I'm very excited for the new season on June 2nd. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited for Night March and Sentinel and all that stuff. But, okay, why would they not label these screws? That seems kind of ill-designed, doesn't it? I have all these screws. I need screw M, but screw M looks like N-O and P. That's really awesome. I'm going to say it's this one. Yeah. I am excited for Marathon Season 2. I think it has a lot to offer. I think it's going to be a good change-up and a reason for me to actually come back to playing the game. There seems to be a lot of improvements that I have been personally seeking that make it to where I'm willing to hop back in. I think that it'll be a good new start for the game. But it's just my point that Destiny still had so much to offer. There is so much more that Destiny could have offered, so many more stories to tell, so many things that are just going to be left in the abyss now that we are going to have to just guess or headcanon or just forget about. And I think that it's just such a shame that a game with this much promise, supported by a studio like Sony, should be able to operate for longer. And my fear is that Marathon is not a very casual-friendly game. My fear is that I don't know what will happen to Bungie should Marathon fail, and should Marathon become this game that is too hardcore and a lot of players aren't enjoying it, so they have to ultimately either cancel it or just subsist on low numbers of players. And that's a terrible fate. I would hate for any developer, any studio to have to witness that, witness your game not have enough players because it's too hard or people are just not willing to give it a chance. Because I know that there's like this discourse online where people are essentially trying to say like, oh, we need to like boycott Marathon and we need to make sure that Marathon fails. I think that's ridiculous. I think two games should be allowed to exist and people should be allowed to enjoy what they want to enjoy no matter what happened. Even if, yes, Marathon is going to be the next Bungie property that gets focused on, it will be the thing that gets focused instead of Destiny. Sure, I get the anger. But also, there are very talented people that have been with Bungie for a very long time that do not deserve to see their work get ridiculed and essentially harmed just because of butthurt Destiny fans. Because I'm very butthurt. I absolutely am. But also, hey, Marathon is somebody's probably favorite game. I mean, I know people who that's their favorite game. And like, that's cool. I think that it's super cool that what am I doing wrong? Fun fact, I'm really bad at building furniture. It's not my strong suit. But yeah, there are people that Marathon is their favorite game. They love Marathon, and I don't blame them. Marathon is a very cool game with a lot of really cool stuff to offer and a cool world to explore. And I think that is what makes it so important that that game stays alive, especially since that is now my camera just got mad at me, my second camera. It's fine, it should be okay. That's why I think it's so important, because I think that since this is Bungie's last available game that they are going to be able to offer, now that Destiny oh damn it, I put the wrong ones on. Didn't I? Did I mess it up? Is one of them longer? Oh, son of a bitch, I did. See, I should not be building furniture. I think that makes it even more important that Marathon does stay alive, because the last thing that I want to see is Bungie close down because Marathon fails. I think that a game shutting down is devastating. A company that has such a long history that created arguably one of the greatest games ever made, Halo, a company shutting down is a way worse reality that we would have to live in than just a game shutting down. And that's why, like, I'm okay with Marathon. I think Marathon should exist, but I am really upset about Destiny. My fondest raids, my fondest memories, they've all came from this silly game, and all of the annoyances and all of the just absolutely bewildering decisions that Bungie has made throughout the history of the game have also been a part of its charm, unfortunately. Like, I'll never forget the content drought before Taken King, where there was nothing to do. But I still would play every single day. I would hop on, I would do strikes, I would do raids, even whenever the gear ultimately meant nothing, because I was already at the power level that I needed to be, waiting for the DLC. After Taken King, whenever I got to the right power level and I had nothing to do, I still played it every day, because it was a hub and it was a place for all my friends to connect and get to share in this world that was so amazingly crafted. And even in Destiny 2, Destiny 2 has had a rough lifespan, for sure. It launched just like its predecessor to not very happy people reviewing it. It had a lot of problems, for sure. It had a lot of things wrong with it. It was not designed very properly to last in an in-game sense. Things like exotics dropped way too easily. Public events were they were reformed, but they were dropping like the highest gear possible. So it made it to where a lot of the other content that the creators had designed weren't that enticing to do, which is not a good thing for an MMO. I remember I got all of my exotics from public events because I, of course, was, I was a high school student, and so I wanted to get all the best stuff. I didn't really care about like how much time I would get out of the game or whatever. Nowadays, if I knew that there was an exploit in a game, I probably wouldn't do it. I kind of, even though, I sound like a hypocrite, even though that I have less time to play games, I enjoy playing them legitimately. I enjoy the actual experience. I'm not a big fan of like power leveling myself or having friends carry me through things. Like, it's about the journey, right? That's the most important thing I've learned about video games. And so that all being said, I remember getting every exotic that I wanted off of heroic public events. I would sit there on Nessus and I would just farm and farm and farm. And I would do every public event I could find, and heroics would drop exotics like nothing. And you gotta remember, this is the game where exotics were so rare and so hard to get that you would have to do a couple of wild things to get it. You'd either have to wait until Fridays to see what our baby Zer would sell to you, or you would have to do crazier things like exotic bounties, which I'll get into that in a sec, or the most in-game activities that they had. So raids, the harder versions of Prison of Elders, with like Skolas and everything. There were more difficult things you had to do to get exotics. And of course, exotics would still drop at the end of Crucible and things, but still. So Destiny 2 had a rough period. And then Forsaken came out after 2 horrible DLCs. Don't get it twisted. Curse of Osiris, 2 tokens and a blue, and I can't even remember what the second one was called. The one with the Warmind and Anna Bray were absolutely atrocious. They had nothing. Actually, okay, the second DLC was not horrible. It was not good, but it was a little bit better. Damn, what was it called? Was it just called? What was it? Yeah, Curse of Osiris, and was it Warmind? Damn, I really don't remember. I'm getting old. So truly atrocious. There was no value to them. I think that the only value to the second DLC was Escalation Protocol. That actually introduced a fun activity. I think that was whenever it was introduced. And that scout rifle, Polaris Lance, that was a good gun. I do enjoy that. But Forsaken. Forsaken came out. This was truly the savior of Destiny 2 at the time. This was its Taken King. It released, it was awesome. It was so fucking awesome. Because it got back to what Destiny was, which was a narratively driven MMO experience. So you start off, and spoilers to anybody, I guess it doesn't even matter because you can't play the game anymore. You can't play Forsaken, which I'll get into in a little bit, but you start off with this huge narrative moment of Cade 6 dying, which Cade 6, the Hunter Vanguard, was a beloved character, very beloved. He was my favorite character. I have always been a hunter since alpha, since beta, since day 1 of Destiny. I've never not been a hunter. The aesthetic was always the coolest to me. I always thought it was so cool to be this like little assassin. And so, am I using the wrong screw again? So, Forsaken released. Forsaken was the saving grace of Destiny 2. Starts with the narrative hit of Cade 6, the Hunter Vanguard, dying. This was a very dramatic moment for the game's story. Uldren Sov, who you would later find out was ultimately being possessed, was at the crux of this. He was Cade 6's killer, and you spin the game after Cade 6 dies and his ghost is killed, meaning that a guardian can no longer come back. You go down and you track down all of the killers, all of the barons that worked for Uldren Sov, with the ultimate goal being that you would end Uldren Sov. Now, this DLC, narratively, was awesome. I remember the feeling of getting to go on the reef, not the reef, oh my god, I am getting old, I forgot what it was called. The Tangled Veil? I think it was called the Tangled Veil. Maybe I'm wrong. All these things sort of like float in my brain, to be honest, these days. But you would have to go and you'd have to track down all of them and kill them one by one before finally killing Uldren Sov / a giant meatball. So this DLC was its saving grace. Destiny 2 finally had content to do. It finally had a reason to get on and play the game. There were things to do now. And that made Destiny 2 have its fan base back. People were finally getting back into the game. People cared about playing it again. and it was a real success. It brought me back, even though I never really stopped playing it, and it just brought new life to the franchise. And then, of course, the DLC cycle continued once more. And flash forward many months and no, years. So, Destiny 2 was alive again. And then eventually, if we fast forward quite a bit, we got to the final shape. The final shape was the end of the Darkness saga. This was the culmination of everything that we had learned about the Witness, with the plot line of us Guardians now making it to the Pale Heart of the Traveler. And in my opinion, it was a beautiful send-off for the game. I think that after I played that DLC, I was pretty sure that that was going to be the end of it. I did not expect them to release more DLCs, but I at least thought that maybe this was time for a Destiny 3 or a new IP to maybe come out. And it ends very sweet. It's a very sweet ending. It ties up a lot of the loose ends with a lot of your characters, ties up the plot line with your character, you finally achieving your goal of banishing the Harbinger of the Darkness. And where is my Allen wrench? Oh, there it is. And as beautiful as a send-off as it was not the final DLC. After that, my memory is a little hazy after this because I'll admit it, after the final shape, I was very satisfied. From a narrative standpoint, from a rating standpoint, from in-game, I was very satisfied with my time. And I decided from that point I was going to go ahead and start playing some single-player games again because Destiny started this trend in my life of playing a lot of MMOs, and so I got very into MMOs. And so after the final shape, speaking of MMOs, I started Final Fantasy XIV, played through all that. I have a video that I want to make on that in the future. The final shape was a very beautiful narrative end point for the series. And then Destiny 2 Renegades came out. As a Star Wars fan myself, I did find myself playing this. I had not touched the game in a while. This was kind of where the community was back to like the it's so over, the game's dead phase of Destiny because it's always a flat circle. And so people were talking about Renegades and talking about how it was going to be so bad or whatever. I'm a Star Wars glazer, to be honest. I love Star Wars. I don't love a lot of modern Star Wars. I have my opinions, as many do, on more recent Star Wars films. But the one thing that I do like, don't mind me golem posing over here. The one thing that I do like, though, is Star Wars media in expanded ways. And so Destiny, trying to do this sort of like Star Wars-esque story with Dredge and Bale, with the Drifter, and using it to narratively tie up the different points with the Nine and everything, I thought was actually kind of cool. I skipped the, what was that DLC called? Was it Edge of Fate? Was that the really bad one? Is that the one where you turn into a fucking Metroid ball? I've still never played that. As true of a Destiny fan as I am, I tried to play it whenever I was done with Renegades to like finish up everything that I never played. I could not get through it. I was so fucking bored. The Metroid ball, don't know who came up with it. Ideally, in a better designed world, it would be a really cool mechanic. In Destiny 2, not good at all. But that's a done and dead opinion at this point. So, yeah, all right, everything looks good. So, look, a chair. Haha. So I played Renegades. Personally, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun experience. It was the most fun I had had in Destiny since the final shape, considering I did not play the Edge of Fate, and I did not really know kind of what to do after the final shape. So I had a lot of fun with it. I liked the blasters. Getting my lightsaber was, it was fucking cool. I can't lie. Like, I know a lot of people were kind of like soured out by the fact that Destiny, not knowing what direction it was supposed to go in, was now turning to Star Wars and was beginning to use Star Wars in Destiny. Totally get that. my little pea brain absolutely loved it. My lightsaber was so cool. Getting to have one was so dope. Any instance of a lightsaber that I get to have and choose and whatever will instantly become super cool to me. And they had a yellow kyber crystal, which is always my color choice, yellow or orange. And so, yeah, I honest to God enjoyed it. Like, I thought Renegades was a really fun time. And I think, like, to non-Star Wars fans, this was obviously, like, nothing. It was like a cool adventure with flavor that they weren't really understanding. There were some plot narrative points that were definitely being missed in that, but ultimately Renegades concluded, and then we were left in the dark for a very long time. Once again, I quit the game. I went back to Final Fantasy XIV and some other single-player games, but we were quite literally left in the dark on what was going to happen with the game from then on. We were told that Shadow and Order, an update that would culminate the rest of Renegade's plotline, I guess, was going to come out, and then it didn't. It got delayed. Marathon came out instead. Nothing wrong with that, but Marathon did come out, and it ultimately delayed the DLC that they had planned, and we are in radio silence. Now, if you know anything about Bungie, you know that Bungie likes radio silence. They love this sort of tactic of say nothing and then reveal everything at once, which is cool. I think it makes for some cool points in Destiny's history where you don't know what's happening. They reveal the Taken King, it looks fucking amazing, and then you're all of a sudden hyped. But for this day and age, where gamers demand what they demand, gamers will get what they want and they will get it when they want it, radio silence did not work. And for a very long time, we were in the dark, then it got delayed, and we were even more confused on what was gonna happen with Destiny, and then the announcement came. And we bring ourselves to where we are now, which is Destiny is dying, and our thoughts on it. And I'm realizing now that this is sort of like a weird, long-winded way to say that I'm sad, but I am sad. I think that it sucks, and I think that it's allowed to suck, and I think that for a game that has done so much for my life, it is only natural to have these feelings. Because, I mean, I know a lot of people that this game has genuinely changed their lives. It has given them a place to feel free, a place to feel like they can just go and belong and have fun and play in a world that is just cool. And I think that it really sucks. And I think a lot of us it's gonna take a long time to get over something like this. Because it's supposed to. I mean, it's supposed to not be something that's easy to just get over, you know? Damn it, did I use the wrong screws? Don't tell me I used the wrong screws. Guys, don't ever let me build furniture. Oh my God, I'm the freaking best. I used the right screws. Let's go, I was about to cry. Okay, but yeah, I think that the bigger point to be made here is that it really sucks, and it's going to take, for me at least, it's gonna take a while to get over this. I won't lie. Like, I shed tears the night of learning that it was dying, because I was really sad, and I was telling my wife that it really does suck. She was trying to, she wanted to understand why I was so emotional about this, and I was explaining it to her like this. Imagine that there is a place that you called home for so long, and then one day, somebody just comes, bulldozes it with no remorse, and now you are effectively left without somewhere to go. And that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like the game was dead, and because of that, there was nowhere left to go. And there's other video games out there, but there wasn't another game that did for me what Destiny did, and I don't know if there will be, to be honest. For all of its flaws, I think that Destiny is probably one of the greatest games I've ever played, and it will always be one of the greatest games I've ever played. And I think it sucks, and it really sucks. And even now I'm getting somewhat emotional thinking about it again. But also, it's ultimately the fact that we even got to experience it is what's important. I think that, as cliche as it might sound, we got to experience what was probably one of our most fondest gaming memories, one of our most fondest times in gaming. And we got to experience it at different times. Everybody was different ages playing this, going through different points in their lives. But ultimately, this game was always there. And it will always be there. Destiny 2 isn't going to shut down overnight. It's still going to be playable. There's still going to be people on it, especially June 9th. I'm going to be there. You're probably going to be there. We're all going to be there one more time just to do some raids and just have fun. But God, like, at least we got to experience it. That's the way that I'm framing this, that I am just so unbelievably happy and honored to have even been able to play it and be able to have such fond memories like that for this silly video game that has ultimately made my life somehow better. And that's the point of it, right? That's the point of video games. That's the point of media. It's the point is to give you an experience, give you a memory, give you something that you won't forget so that you can take it into whatever's next. And I don't know what's next. I don't know what game I'll flee to. I don't know if I'll just keep on playing single player games, if I'll start a new MMO, or if I'll just play Destiny 2 and pretend like it never died. But what I do know is that at the end of the day, it will be fine. And that we will always have this little world sitting there in our corner that we can remember, we can go back and we can visit. And it's like looking at photos of your childhood home. They're always there. And it sounds more dramatic than it is, considering that I am talking about a video game. But I mean, if you experience it, you understand. This is something that is just so hard to all of a sudden deal with. And especially whenever I always thought that, yeah, whenever the new Destiny content came out, I was going to be there. I always knew I was going to be there. I always knew that I would go back and play it. And now there's not going to be any new Destiny content. And I think that that's just so unfortunate and so sad. And these are just ramblings of a sad person about their silly video game shutting down. But, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I hope for better things for Bungie's future. I really do. I hope that Bungie is able to recover from this, make Marathon the vision that they want it to be, make it the best fucking video game that they can, and just continue to make strides as a company. I really do. The last thing that I want to see is Marathon fail, because if Marathon fails, then the company that we all grew up loving ultimately fails as well. And I think that as long as we continue to recognize that it will be okay and that there will always be this game sitting there for us, then, I mean, it's not truly over, right? I mean, it's not really over. We still have it. We can still go back to it. It just won't ever be the same. And you know what? I think that that's an important lesson, and one that we're going to have to face eventually. Eventually, we're going to have to realize that this game couldn't go on forever. There were red herrings for a while now, and I think that we all kind of knew that this time was coming. I always thought that this time was coming, but I just thought that I had more time. And you know what? That's okay, because I had my time. I had my time with it. I got to experience it whenever I did, and that made it all worthwhile. And I hope to anybody else who is equally as sad about this, that you too realize that it's not over. It's not over. There's still going to be this world for us. We can still go back and play it. I'll be there, and we'll just see what happens next. We'll see what's next for our lives and what we're going to play. Because you know what? Something new will come around, and we'll get attached to something new again and experience a new era of fun. And you know what? We'll always look back on the game that got us into these sorts of games and the game that transformed our lives as much as it did. As silly as this little MMO light that just has always had drama is, it will always be a part of us. And I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It's all about experiencing these things that you'll never forget. And as they say, guardians make their own fate, and we will too. And I hope for brighter things in the future as far as gaming goes and as far as Bungie's future goes. And hey, who knows? I mean, not that I think it will happen, because knowing Bungie, something would have been announced by now, but there's still hopes that Bungie could make something new. My personal hope is that Not of a D3, because honestly, the story ended so well, I don't want it to continue, if I'm being honest. I think that it's such a beautiful ending with the final shape that I am satisfied, but who knows? Maybe they'll do something different with Destiny. I think a reset for the universe is honestly what this game needs. I think that this game needs something new, some breath of fresh air that is completely different from what we know. And maybe it's a different IP entirely. Maybe Bungie flips its gears and they try to revive something old of theirs, or they just make something brand new, but with Destiny flavor. And I would welcome that. I would welcome that wholeheartedly. I think there comes a time for evolution, and Bungie has needed this evolution for a long time. I'm not happy about the evolution, but you know what? It's not my place. Evolution was going to happen regardless. It's just my time to experience it. So, anyways, building time lapse. And alas, here we are. That took me way longer than it should have, probably because I feel like I'm in a therapist office right now, you know? I guess you're my therapist, and I'm the patient. We're discussing the loss of Destiny 2. Yeah, so if you've stuck around to the end, thank you so much for listening to me ramble on about a old friend that we are unfortunately pulling the plug on. I plan to make some more stuff about Destiny here soon. Probably whenever June 9th comes out, it's just going to be a little bit of fun with the new update. And yeah, I guess my concluding thoughts are this. It's going to be fine. And this is probably more dramatic than it needs to be. But it will be fine. I think that ultimately this was going to happen. And you know what? We still got to experience it, and now we get to experience what's next, and that's the most important thing. And I truly hope that we find a new game, or that we just enjoy this one for whatever time it has left, because there will always be another time. As the end of Halo Reach says, there will be another time, there will be another game, and we'll play it together. And you know what? We'll enjoy it just as much as we did this one, maybe, hopefully. But Destiny will always exist where it matters, and that's your brain and the thing that pumps your blood, your heart. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any more thoughts on that. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, more videos should be coming out soon. Now that I'm in a more stable area, I'm able to have my sort of recording setup and everything, and I'm still building it, so it's still going to take some time, but I do have some things that I want to make. Most notably, I want to make a thing about Outer Wilds because I beat it, even though I only published like 3 parts of it. I beat it. And then some other games that I've been playing that I am looking forward to filming. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and most importantly, tell me your favorite moment in Destiny. Actually, I'll tell you mine right before we finish this up. Favorite moment in Destiny ever will have to be, and I said we'd get back to this, exotic bounties. Destiny 1, it was just D1. It was base D1 before DLC came out. So I don't know how old I was, but I was young. And in my room, we had a little, 12-inch TV, maybe? Maybe like 24. Yeah, like a 24-inch small TV. I had it stacked on a couple encyclopedias, and I would sit in this fold-out chair in my room, and I would play Destiny every single night. And me and my sister, we shared a room at this time. We were in a smaller house, and so we shared a room. And I remember exotic bounties were a thing, and I wanted Thorn so badly. If you remember Thorn pre-nerf, 2-shot walk away, you could shoot somebody twice in the head, and the burn would kill them in Crucible. This was the most broken gun in the game at the time for Crucible. So I wanted it. So I grinded bounties, I grinded. And I would just do bounties every single night. I had no problem with it, apparently. I had no problem with just sitting there spamming the same things. Um, and eventually, one night, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I saw the exotic bounty drop on my screen. It was probably 3 a.m. I had school the next morning. I was always waking up at around 6:30 for school. I saw the exotic bounty drop, and it sounds dumb, but I cried with excitement. I was so elated that I had finally gotten it. That I woke my sister up. She barely remembers this because fell right back asleep. But I shook her awake, and she played the game too. And she had been trying to get the Red Death bounty. And I woke her up, and I was like, I got it. I got the bounty. I'm gonna get Thorn. And then I saw the quest requirements, and I cried some more because the void kills were horrible. But that that memory is from a different time, and as beautiful as it is, I think that it's perfect that it exists in that time because I'll never forget the time I spent as a little youngin playing that game, and to be able to have experienced a fraction of that in my adult life with this game, with Destiny 2, has been so beautiful. And I don't know. It was all worth it. This is what I'm trying to get at. Even though it's dying, it was worth getting to play it at all. So, on that note, tell me your favorite Destiny memory, please. I'm very excited to hear it. And I look forward to talking to you in the next one. Yeah. Bye. Did I build this right? Yeah, we're going to say I built it right.